Hello and welcome to my channel Catholic Psychology. You're with David King. Today I want to follow on from my previous video where I talked about internal regulation and building a belief system, one that helps us operate in this world and that we can reward ourselves for constantly improving on. So, what do I want to talk about today? Well, I want to follow on by talking about what is a belief system? Where does it come from? What is its purpose? How do we build it? How do we adapt it? And the way to understand this and the way to explain this, I'll use the example of childhood. When we're children, our parents try to teach us a certain set of values and beliefs, and what they represent is trying to teach behaviors that are going to help reward and help encourage certain behaviors in children that will likely lead to positive outcomes in the future. You're trying to help children understand the way the world works. So, what that means is a belief system, what it represents, is trying to understand the way the world works. Okay, so where do we go from here? How do we build this belief system? Parents utilize the reward and punishment system, just like in building habits, building beliefs works the same way. We're trying to condition rewards and punishments to certain behaviors because we're trying to incentivize certain behaviors and de-incentivize others because we want to make our children follow behaviors that will give them the best outcomes in the world. Okay, how do we go about doing this? And how can small things drastically impact beliefs children take into adulthood? Let's talk about money, because a lot of what the world teaches is that money is of great importance. Let me take you through 3 scenarios on how you can teach your children about money and how they can drastically change their belief system. First of all, imagine that you believe you want your children to have a little bit of freedom, so you give them an allowance. You say, if you work hard, if you save up, you can go and buy some expensive things. You're trying to teach them the value of saving, but you're also saying like it's perfectly fine to go out and spend money and to go and get things that you want. It's perfectly fine to reward yourself. And so that's a good thing to try and teach your child, to not be afraid to spend their money to get things that they want, and also trying to teach them to save. But where does this go wrong? Okay, if a child is receiving money for no reason, if they have created the association that they just deserve money, then they aren't going to be motivated to do things that require effort to get it. They were going to create this association that money is, and the things that they want, the things that they deserve. Okay, we don't want that. So let's talk about scenario 2. Scenario 2, imagine you have your children and you have told them that if you go and do chores around the house, you will receive a set income. A income that doesn't change. It's just, if you help around the house, we will reward you with a set income. What goes wrong in this scenario and what goes right? Okay, what goes right is now you're creating an association with working for money, and that you should be rewarded for working. And what this does is that in a normal job, if you work, you receive a reward, your paycheck. that is how, a normal, say like a normal office job or a normal factory job, that's how they work. So there's some cases where jobs have like commission, where the more work you do and the more success you have, you can get compensated for. And that isn't covered in this dynamic where you're just saying you receive a set income based on doing work each week, doing chores each week. So what's the third scenario? Well, the third scenario is one where you list out a bunch of chores and you say that each chore is worth a different amount of money, and you don't put a cap on the amount of money the child can earn. The more work they do, the more value they provide, the more they are compensated. This teaches children that they aren't just wanting to work, they're wanting to provide value, things that are going above and beyond, and that you can be compensated accordingly when it comes to money. The way the world works is people that have more value, more skills, are rewarded more financially. That's why you see like all the people who get degrees and they go out and they do high paying jobs like engineers, doctors, things that require set skills, things that are valuable. And so when you instill this in children, you instill the motivation to improve themselves and to become valuable, to become skilled. And so comparing that to all the other scenarios, you have a child that has a growth mindset rather than a duty mindset, which you would have in scenario 2, where it's that I work and I receive my pay. And so out of all of these, the third scenario is the best. They're all a belief system on how the world should work around money, all managed through certain teachings, through certain rewards. And so what we can take away from this is it's very, very easy to manipulate someone's belief system using rewards and punishment. And when you want to build your own belief system, you adapt it by not only listening to other people and the logic they have behind why they do things, but then rewarding certain things which generate you a response more closely aligned to the outcome you want. That's how you grow your belief system, and that's how you get closer and closer to receiving the outcome you want. I'll see you next time on Catholic Psychology.